Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Wynn and this is going to be episode 3 of my Starbound talk. Now at the end of the previous episode, I discussed a thing that I refer to as a logic square. Now this logic square that I was referring to is called the square of opposition, and it's apparently a part of the Aristotelian logic. Aristotle himself kind of like came up with this idea, and also as you can see I kind of have... let me just kill this guy first. I have kind of built something off camera, and I also have these, like, amazing wings. Unfortunately, the wings don't actually work, at least not to my knowledge. They just look cool. I got this from one of those creepy red men that I found. But yes, we have a small house here. We've got a chest which currently has nothing in it. I should actually place some things in it. Let's actually go and plant some stuff. Probably going to want to get this globe down here as well. Let's go and place this globe over here to make it look a little bit nicer. But the square of logic basically tells you how different statements relate to each other. Like, say imagine a four-sided square. Okay, let me try and use this as an example. A four-sided square, of course. I can't, like, say a five-sided square, can I? That won't be a square. Okay, so on each corner there is a statement. This is A, this is B, that's C, and that's D, okay? If A says, if X is true, then Y is false? Hold on, let me actually look this up quickly. Square of opposition. I have heard of this before. Let's see, okay. Here's one. So in the top corner, there's a statement. There's like two factors. One factor is abbreviated into the letter S, and the other one abbreviated into the letter P. So let's say every S is P over here, right? That's in this corner. Then over here it says no S is P. Down here it says some S is P, and over here it says that some S is not P. These two here, A and C. Okay, this is going to get complicated for people who aren't really that good with algebraic terminology, or how algebraic minds work. So let's say that this top corner here says that every man is blonde, okay? This one over here says that no man is blonde, okay? This one here says that some men are blonde, and this one over here that says some men are not blonde. So every man is blonde up here. That relates to some men is blonde because it's a subaltern. It kind of like relates. And then every man is blonde. It contradicts that some men are not blonde because, well, if every man is blonde, then therefore no men are. Some men are not blonde isn't true. It's kind of like that's how it works. It's a little bit. I would recommend you look it up for yourself, because my explanation is a little bit skewed. And I'm not doing it that much justice. I wouldn't say it's overly complicated, but it's difficult to try and describe. I also have some plant life growing over here, but there are still also some other things that I would like to talk about in this one. The square of opposition is what I was talking about at the end of the last episode that I didn't quite manage to get my head around saying. Also, I said that stuff like, I think it was like 11 PM in the evening or something. Oh man, these guys. It was like 11 PM in the evening, so my talking wasn't really up to scratch, I won't say. I'm gonna start creating a mine down here. But Wynn, this is like right in front of your house. Well, yeah, but I have a way to get out, believe me. I also need coal, actually. I can't really go down here without coal. Oh, man. And also YouTube has problems with light. Okay. So... okay, while I do this, I'm just going to go and talk about the other things as well that I have written down. Let's see, there's nothing around here, so I'm actually just going to go and bring myself back out. Do I have enough for wooden platforms? I do have enough for wooden platforms. Let's go with 50 of them. So, as of the time of this recording, I had episode 18 of Magical Diary was, like, episode 18 of Magical Diary went up, and there's something I want to talk about in that. Okay, this is going to be a little bit spoilerish if you guys haven't seen the Magical Diary. If you don't care, or if you've already seen it yourself, then carry on watching. But if you want to see it for yourself, then I'd suggest you, like, pause this video right now and go and watch it. At least go and watch the ending portion of it. I think that's when it was. I'm going to explore around the surface to find some coal. But here we go. This is where the spoilers start, so this is your last warning. Okay, spoiler time. At the end of episode 18 of Magical Diary, there was this scene where I cast a spell on Virginia in order to detect if she was lying or not, even though Virginia is kind of like, you know, the path that I'm going down, like I wouldn't really call it a romantic interest, but like, it's somewhere along there. It's kind of difficult to describe with Virginia because she's a peculiar case. She's a very entertaining case. I mean, like, well, how to say this? I really like Virginia, I'll say that. Like, her character is like, she's probably one of my favorite characters in the entire game, but what happened was there was this explosion that happened in the school, and nobody knew where it was from, and Virginia at that time was out, she was out of the room. She said she had to, like, go toilet or something along those lines. Yeah, in fact, I'm pretty sure it was she had to go toilet. And my character, I decided to pick when she said that she didn't know anything else about the explosion, even though she was out, my character was growing a little bit suspicious, even though, you know, you should really trust this person that, you know, you have this romantic interest in. And is actually an extremely good friend as well. Oh my god, the frames. And I feel really bad for having to select me casting a spell on her in order to find out if she was actually telling the truth. And it's just like, it's a weird thing about, like, trusting the other person. The thing is, I didn't expect her to have done something that bad. I didn't expect her to have actually gone out and made an explosion somewhere, even though the person in question was somebody who was causing great anguish for Virginia at the time. But I still, like, cast a spell to try and find out if she was telling the truth or not. It's not really because I distrusted her, but I think, I can't really, like, phrase this too well. Like, it wasn't a distrust. It was just like, is she trying to hide something? I suppose that's a little bit distrustful, isn't it? But the thing is, there are certain emotions that people can undergo in which they do silly actions, or make silly decisions. And Virginia might have, well, the idea is that Virginia might have been in one of those types of emotions and decided to, or maybe, I won't suspect her to actually have been caused the explosion, but maybe she was letting on a little bit more than she, oh my god, I died. Maybe she was letting off a little bit more than we didn't know. Okay, that made no sense. Maybe she wasn't telling us something because she felt extraordinarily guilty about it, or something like that. But the spell was cast, and even when I, like, checked Virginia's mind, it was a spell called Empathy. When I checked Virginia's mind, it said that there was no guilt or anything, just, like, confusion and sadness, which is obviously to be expected, really, in a situation like that. Can I eat these? No, those are seeds. But I reckon there's some kind of, like, miscommunication that'll happen in there. If, for instance, you find yourself in a similar situation where a potential romantic interest who trusts you completely, and who you, well, I hope you do trust your romantic interest completely, because then that will kind of, like, spoil a recipe for disaster or something later on down the lines. Oh man, I lost my trail of thought. I will find my trail of thought again in a few moments, I think. let me go and grab this. My character is currently, well, dying because of poison. I really do need to get my character a better weapon as well. Oh my god. These guys. Let me just... I know there's a lull in the conversation right now. Let me just try and kill these people. And not try and poison myself again. Okay. The very next thing that I would like to talk about is... recently I've been made aware that there's a... there's this thing that's going about. There's a question that I think has philosophical arguments and reasoning to it. And that is chivalry. You guys have heard, no, not the game Chivalry, the actual, like, warrior's code of conduct, for instance. How to treat a lady in a chivalrous manner. Now, the first thing that crops to your mind is when somebody says that that when chivalry is dead. The very first thing that crossed my mind is, what, are men just not being chivalrous anymore? Is it the men's fault? And it's like, well, yeah, the men aren't really being chivalrous anymore. But that's through no fault of their own. It's through the idea that females are expecting chivalrous men to be trying to, you know, like, get in their pants or something like that. And it's a little bit weird for me to contemplate, because it's like, well, this person is offering you help. You'd be silly not to accept this help. I mean, obviously, if you're, like, very prideful, then, you know, you can... That'll be a reason for you to want to disrespect that person's offer of help. Of course, disrespecting anything is kind of, like, not a very good idea. Let me go and craft these torches. But the major thing about the case of chivalry having died is women aren't accepting it anymore. As I mentioned, every time somebody is chivalrous to them, they imagine that they're trying to, you know, be sexist. But that's not the case. You don't go up to somebody, well, I hope people don't go up to other people and say, here, can I help you with that? Or, like, you look like you're having a bit of trouble with that luggage there. Can I, like, help you with it? Firstly, you need to kind of, like... I can understand the female being like, why is this person asking me for my luggage? Is he trying to, like, steal my luggage or something? I mean, yeah, there's that. But if they really do have honestly good intentions, which you cannot determine if it's, like, just a random person on the street, you cannot determine their intentions simply by just having met them once. What am I doing? I need more platforms. Let's see, 92, half of 92 is 46. Let's go and grab that many platforms. And then... where'd my platforms go? Platforms? Oh, they're stairs, okay. But yeah, you can't really identify a person's motives simply from one experience. And I can understand why there are people out there who are very defensive about it. If, for instance, the woman has had problems previously with members of the male gender, then that is kind of like a defensive mechanism to want to, you know, protect yourself. And I can understand that, but it's kind of a shame that chivalry is being viewed upon in such a negative light because of this. Chivalry itself is not bad. Chivalry is, like, it's honorable. That's how I view it. Chivalry is honorable. It's like a way to honor another person. If say, like, I were to go up to somebody and, a female, should I say, and say, like, here, let me hold that door open for you. Over here, this has happened to me a few times. I opened the door for somebody and, let them through, and they gave me a really strange look. It's like, what? Have you never seen a person open the door for you before? I mean, okay, over here in England, I'd say the English attitude over here is a little bizarre. I don't really understand the English attitude that much, even though considering I've, you know, lived here for so long. But during the times that I was in South Africa, the attitude was basically completely different. Like, chivalry is so not dead in South Africa, and it's like, why is it dead over here? Is it something to do with the culture? Is it something to do with the way that the majority of the people are brought up over here? Is it because South Africa is a developing country and England is a developed country? I don't know. That, what I just said there might also spur on some arguments, but when South Africa is not a developing country, have you seen, like, the technological progresses they've had? True, they are doing very well, but I still... In my personal opinion, it is a developing country, simply because it's, well, kind of newish. It's like the same thing with Brazil. Brazil isn't a third world country, it's a developing country. I imagine, at least. It's not something bad. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the inhabitants of these countries. I mean, I was born in South Africa, it's like my country, why would I want to insult it? But I don't know. If you guys if you guys live in a country that's not South Africa or England, tell me if you think that chivalry is dead, and give me your reasons as to why it is dying, or why you think it is being killed. Personally, I reckon it's a culmination of both the male and the female responses to chivalry. Like, the females are using the equal rights card, like, you wouldn't treat a man in this way, would you? Honestly, if they're having trouble, I'll offer my assistance to them. Same as if you're having your trouble, then I'll offer my assistance to you. It doesn't matter if you're a male or a female, it'll just be like, you know, be chivalrous. Although, I don't really know if the term can be applied when it's a person of the same gender. I think it's only specific to a male being chivalrous to a female. There might be a different term for it when a female is being, like, quote-unquote chivalrous, or the female version of chivalrous to a male. But it's just... It's like, people have been brought up by, say, their mothers and their fathers to be chivalrous, ideally. And it's like, be nice to people and they'll be nice to you again. There is, like, a whole bunch of problems with that in and of itself. Like, obviously, it doesn't work like that. If you be nice to somebody, then, you know, kind of expect them not to repay you back. That's kind of like a thing that happens. People simply don't think about it. It's not that they wish to neglect you, it's simply that they have other pressing businesses on mind. They have other things to think about and they get distracted. They get distracted by life. That's what I believe happens. And I've actually seen it through my own personal experiences. People who I am very friendly with don't like... some people who I'm very friendly with, just like, when I help them, they don't help me. And it's like, okay, yeah, sure, I don't really need assistance in much anyway, but I know if I were to ask you to help me, then, you know, that'll be great. Don't expect people to help you voluntarily. If they do, then, hey, that's good, you owe them something. You owe them, like, say, I don't know, some assistance, or like a beer or something to drink or something like that. Provided, of course, they do drink and they're old enough, you know. It's just a really strange idea for me to grasp. On one side you have the females being, being all equal rights about it, and on the other side you have the males who are getting concerned about being chivalrous to females because they retaliate. It's like, why are you retaliating? I mean, sure, I know your reasons. You're saying that equal rights, I wouldn't do this to a male, but again, you just met this guy. You have no idea if he would or would not. I mean, obviously, if you've known this person for a very long time and then they start acting unnaturally in your eyes, then yeah, that's kind of a bit strange. So kind of like question them about it. But it's by no means necessary to want to, you know, destroy an entire idea. Chivalry is not dead, it's just less accepted. the idea of chivalry I don't think can die, because you'll always have people who are chivalrous. You'll always have that idea roaming around in your mind. Or, well, not specifically in your mind, the individuals watching this, but like, it's going to be an idea of humans. At least one person is going to be thinking of it for quite a while. Like, say, in 100 years' time, they read a text and, like, say, I don't know, maybe it becomes something like what happened with Confucianism in China. It was like, a really smart guy, Confucius, he outlined a whole set of code of conduct for people, kind of like the code of conduct for knights, chivalry. And eventually that became the basics of the entirety of the Chinese region. It's like an extremely popular thought. I'd say, I don't know about modern day China, but I definitely know in historical China, Confucianism is a huge part of their realm, and I'd still even say today that Confucianism is a huge part of their culture. But how much different is Confucianism to the idea of chivalry? You be a gentleman, okay, there are differences, they're aimed at different things. Chivalry is for the code of conduct of a knight, and generally it's to, sort of like, be nice to the members of the female gender. And that does originate from a sexist world. Because, women have been marginalized in history for a really long time. I mean, even in China, women are... ancient China, women were extraordinarily marginalized. Confucianism didn't even say anything about, much about females. They said that every man must act as a gentleman and must live up to set an example, otherwise the emperor will lose the mandate of heaven. I'm not going to get into what the mandate of heaven is, because that's kind of like not where I would like to take the subject. But if you guys deem it fit, then you can just simply write it in the comments. And yes, I do know that nobody is watching this as of right now. There'd be like 1 or 2, maybe 3 people watching this. But, when it becomes important. And this place in Starbound, it seems like I've come across a little village. What is this? I wonder where the tiny inhabitants are. Yeah, I wonder that too, Lily Giver. Don't want to make you seem more selfish than, you look. I mean, look at those wings. And how many eyes do you need? God, so selfish. Taking up all the sight for everyone else. Not that I'm calling you fat or anything, just, But yeah, chivalry... I still very much like the idea of chivalry, and in my opinion, it's best to help and offer help and be rejected than to simply not offer assistance anyway. It kind of means that you still know where your morals lie. Of course, if it I'd say it's more, how to phrase this? It's on an individual basis that people deny sexism. Well, yeah. Actually, sexism is kind of frowned upon in the entirety of society. Chivalry is on a personal basis. It's on a subjective level. And subjective means basically influenced by one's own belief, an individual's beliefs. So if the subjective ideas of a person deems that chivalry is extraordinarily sexist, then, maybe it's best not to be chivalrous towards that person. You need to adapt to the current situation, and I know that one argument is, if you're sticking to the idea of chivalry, then you're not really adapting to modern day society, because chivalry is, it's viewed to be kind of dead right now. And without repeating myself, I still don't think chivalry is dead. I think people are just a bit too afraid of being chivalrous. Maybe my opinion will differ after I've had certain experiences, or a certain amount of experiences that have really feministic women saying, "Oh no, you can't do that. We need equal rights." Sure, go for your equal rights, but that doesn't mean that you should become a jerk. I mean, this person is just trying to offer help. It doesn't matter if you're male, a female, a hermaphrodite if you're pink, blue, or yellow. You know, if you offer help, then try and, don't make it seem like you're rejecting it based on sexual ideas. Or, okay, not sexual ideas, sexist ideas, should I say. And we've actually gone quite far down into the earth right about here in Starbound. Haven't found that many decent materials to mine up, but we have found this huge cavern. I really need some extra coal, and, iron is always helpful. So just basically mine up everything that we can, and I think there's some copper down there as well. Again, honestly, I don't know what this video would look like on YouTube. So I'm gonna have to check that when it actually gets uploaded and make sure the darkness isn't that bad, otherwise I'll have to change some of the dynamic. There's no gamma option. Really? I can't change the gamma. Oh well. I will try and sort it out if it becomes a problem in the next episode. But yeah, I think I've said what I kind of wanted to say about chivalry, and the whole concept that chivalry is viewed as being dead, and I kind of understand the arguments to be made there. I mean, sure, there's some arguments that I haven't covered, and feel free to write them down in the comments. I would love to see other points of views. I mean, that's pretty much the whole point of having a discussion like this. I kind of want to be able to see what other people's opinions are. And also try to keep it civil as well. Like, you don't really want to make other people's lives miserable simply by expressing your view. You need to be... Oh, did something happen down there? Oh, the guy's on fire. Fair enough. Well, good luck with that. Hope you find some water. Oh, it kind of suggests that there's lava down there. Oh well. We'll get to there eventually. Recently, I have been also trying to work on a new blog post. If you guys don't know, I do have a blog. It's actually the blog for the potatoes, which is a group of friends that I associate myself with over Skype, and we inhabit a bunch of different countries. And on that, I post philosophical topics. Right now, the one that is up is a topic about what humans do consider to be natural or unnatural, and it goes into the idea that if humans were to evolve again, like separately on like another basis, we probably would do the same thing. So does that consider it natural or not? What is natural is what originates from Earth, I suppose. We evolved in a similar way to, say, like monkeys and whatnot, but we don't say that monkeys or whatever monkeys do is artificial or anything. Of course, they don't actually make things like machines or anything. But again, machines, like, it was natural, it's a natural part of human evolution. We invented machines due to the intellect that we evolved. It's natural. One natural cause leads to another cause. So therefore, that should itself be natural, right? It just seems like a lot of people associate nature with what we know as nature, plants, animals, green life, and that kind of stuff. And when we say that humans are destroying nature, the whole concepts of carbon dioxide emissions and poisoning the planet and greenhouse gases comes into play. Is this guy going to be hostile to me? No, he's not hostile. Okay. Okay, good, you're not hostile either. I need to dig into here. There's a whole bunch of stuff over here that I would like to obtain. But nature is also another subject. Nature, I checked up on definitions of nature, and it said that nature is anything that originated not by human means. But why do you need to separate human means to nature? It kind of like puts a juxtaposition on humans and nature, kind of like insinuating that humans aren't natural. humans are natural. We evolved. I mean, we came from nature, we're part of nature. Sure, nature is changing because of things that we're doing, and, you know, there are certain things like, say, our contribution to global warming, which is extraordinarily bad. I mean, I don't support global warming in the slightest. In fact, I kind of, like, dislike it. Primarily because, you know, I'm pretty fond of cold weather. I prefer cold weather to warm weather, and global warming kind of, like, means that everything gets really hot. Right? But it's a natural part of the evolution of humans. Sure, we'll, like, maybe destroy the planet, and people would claim that to be artificial, because artificial has negative connotations, but humans are still gonna... Well, I hope they don't, but humans right now are still contributing to carbon dioxide emissions, and most of the people who don't like global warming, they still contribute to it by, you know, driving everywhere using their non-electric cars and whatnot. And even, hey, even us using a computer right now is contributing a very small portion to global warming. Some way, I think. Don't ask me what the exact processes are. I had to do that in, you know, like, year 8 high school. I think year 8 is like the second year of high school, so whatever that converts to in grades in the US education system. One other thing that I would like to talk about, we're nearing the end of the episode. I like to keep these things about 40-45 minutes long, is experiencing stuff. I have this philosophy book that I'm reading, and it says it's called like 50 philosophical ideas you really need to know, and I think it's by hold on, is it Ben Dupree? Yeah, it's Ben Dupree. I would highly recommend it. One of the potatoes actually recommended it to me, and I've been reading it quite a lot, and there's a whole bunch of really nice ideas in that kind of like, it's like, wow, I've never actually thought of it that way before. And one of these sections is how do you experience things as a different point of view? Well, you can't. It's a physical impossibility. If you were to, say, if your mind was transplanted into the mind of someone else, you still wouldn't experience things as that person. You'd experience things as yourself who has changed into that person. It's a different situation than being born as that person, simply because, you know, you kind of like changed to become that person. There's also a similar thing when it comes to sex changes as well, at least in my mind. And I find it, I know this is a contentious subject and people are probably going to dislike my views or something. I honestly try not to be disrespectful or anything, and if I do, I am sincerely apologetic. But people who want to get a sex change, they're like, say like a person was born a male, but they really want to be a female, so they have a sex change. They're still, even after the sex change, they're still not, they're not fully female. They still have remnants of their masculinity, even if biologically they become 100% feminine. Mentally, it's still going to be a different subject. You're still going to have the experience of having gone through the sex change and being born as a different gender than you are currently. So therefore, unfortunately, you're still not really experiencing things as a female. You're experiencing things as a male turned female, if you understand what I mean. And that is... I don't know. I don't even know why people want to get a sex change. I haven't really delved into it that much. I think it's... to me, it sounds like it's an unacceptance of your current situation, or your desire to want to fit in. But that in itself is also causing some problems as well, because by wanting to try and fit in, you become a little bit more unnatural. And this does tie in with what I was saying earlier about humans and nature, but when sex change happens, so therefore it should be natural, right? Yeah, it's... I think you need to kind of make the distinction, or you need to define nature as a specific way. Nature is a word that has many different meanings. One of them is, green grassland, anything to do with plant life. That's all natural. Or plants that naturally grow. Another definition is anything outside of human intervention. I'd say that one word encompasses a whole bunch of different ideas. And in one term of the word, one sense of the word, that sex change is unnatural because it's done by human intervention, I suppose. I will say that I don't agree with that idea of nature, personally, because to me nature is what happens. To some extent, sex change is natural, and to some extent, sex change is unnatural. It depends on how you define the term. Sex change is natural if you define the term as anything that actually happens. Anything that has originated from something that has originated from nature. And it continues down that line. Robots, I think their existence is natural, but I don't think that they are to be considered natural in the same sense that, say for instance, plants and animals are considered natural, obviously because they're different. Where's the first difference? Well, the first difference is in their name. Robots, animals, humans. Even though humans are animals, robots aren't animals. They're not biological, at least. I think most of the discrepancies in terms of, or most of the differences, should I say, in terms of people's opinions on certain matters is a underlying difference in how you recognize certain ideas. Like, for instance, I said that there's multiple ways to interpret the word nature. There's multiple different interpretations of how to interpret the word love, for instance. So you guys all know, like, the emotion of love, right? Well, you guys have heard of love, at least. I'm not necessarily saying that everyone watching this has had love before in the past, because that's just a little bit presumptuous and it makes me seem like a total arse, right? But there's one idea of love, the emotion, the thing that you feel for somebody else that you really like. But also another definition of the word is a score system in tennis. Those two are two completely different ideas. It's the same thing with most other words, like, say, for instance, nature and other things as well that currently escape my mental capacity to think about. It's really brain challenging, should I say. It really challenges your brain, and every time I try and think about these things, I get these ideas in my head that I can't articulate. I think I mentioned this in the previous episode. I was talking about how why do you need a language in order to think? Why do we constantly think in a language that is our main language? We can easily think outside of that main language, but it helps us to think more clearer. It helps us to articulate it in a way that is communicable. But does that really help? I mean, if you understand the situation perfectly, then surely you won't need to articulate it to yourself in your head. I think it's just become a habit of humanity in order to naturally think about things in your own native language. And it doesn't even have to be verbal, as I mentioned in previous episodes as well. It could be sign language. I mean, people who have sign language as their first language probably think in sign language. They think visually. And also, say for instance, a deaf-blind person, they don't think in signs or in verbal communication either. They think using touch. There's a whole bunch of different ideas or like ways to interpret certain things, and just because we only experience language for us who are hearing, or partially hearing as I am. Well, actually, it would be more correct to say that I'm simply partially deaf, not partially hearing, because that implies that I'm more deaf than I actually am, and, you know, I can get around without using a hearing aid, but it kind of like, it's better for me to wear a hearing aid in terms of listening to people. There's a whole bunch of different ideas out there that you've never thought of, and it's really an eye-opener to when you're made aware to these other ideas. Like, how much do I really know? And again, is all of this even truthful? Like, all of this could just be speculation. In fact, most of it is speculation on my part. Most of what I have said is speculatory. They're also subjective. They're my opinions on certain matters as well. And just generally, it's really subjective. But anyway, this episode is getting to the end. I am going to finish up mining here, and then I am going to head back upstairs. Well, by upstairs I mean back to the surface, because I think right now I'm kind of like at the core of the planet. I have no idea how a fish creature can survive at the core of a planet. I mean, it's probably pretty hot down here, and it's probably pretty humid as well, I'd imagine. I don't know, I've never actually been to the center of an Earth in order to find out what it feels like. I'm probably going to want to get all of these gold as well. All these gold. I'd make a pretty good pirate, don't you think? No, I don't think I would make a pretty good pirate. This creature thing here. Why are these things just so aggressive? I mean, sure, the deeper down into the earth you go, the more aggressive it is, because it's meant to symbolize some sort of difficulty curve, right? But anyway, I am going to end the episode here. I'm going to finish mining out this section, and I will see you guys in the next episode. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I hope you guys have also considered the points that I have mentioned. If you come up with your own theories as to the things that I have mentioned earlier, then feel free to write them down in the comments when you watch this episode. I mean, I would love to hear different perspectives. It's kind of like my whole thing. I want to be able to, I won't say understand, I'd like to be able to be made aware of different perspectives. And that's the whole fun with communicating as well. You get to hear everyone else's different perspectives. And of course, chat amongst yourselves in the in the comments as well. I really look forward to some of the comments that will be made on this video, and I will see you in the next one. I think the very next thing that I'm going to be uploading after this is going to be more Magical Diary, so look forward to that. I know the series, or the playthrough, the current playthrough, is kind of in the latter portion of its story. But anyway, I've been rambling on in this end sequence for too long. Goodbye, everybody. Take care.